Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Tammy, and today I'm going to share with you how you can raise your frequency to start to get everything you desire now. And make sure you stay to the end of the video because I'm going to share with you a quick tip that you can do anywhere, grocery store, at your job, in your business, at home, that can shift your frequency instantly if you choose to. In the world around you, there are little teeny particles that you cannot see, almost like dust particles. So if you ran your hand or a rag across something that was dusty, you get all these like light particles in the air. Around you, there are these particles. They're much smaller. They're far smaller than our eyes can detect. The dust particle being the closest thing that you could see that is that small. And these particles are electrically charged. Each particle is the pre-matter before it becomes physical reality in your life. All the opportunities, all the abundance, all the clients, the partners, the friends, the jobs, the clients, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's all in these little teeny particles that are electrically charged. These particles exist outside of you as well as inside of you. When you imagine something, when you desire to receive something, whether like a partner, abundance, or clients, you're imagining what that looks like or would feel like. And in that moment, you are creating these little teeny particles that are outside of you that contain this pre-matter, the ingredients, if you will, of what will become the physical thing that you can either touch or experience. When you create that thing in your imagination, the business, the house, the car, the money, whatever it is, it comes with an electrical charge. And an electrical charge initially is the emotion that you felt when you thought about that and you used your imagination or you focused your thoughts on it for a moment. It comes with that electrical charge, which is the emotion, which is the trigger, the feeling. So then this particles goes out into the world and it's energetically like pulling those things to you that match not only what you want to receive, but that emotional charge, which is the electronic part of the particle, to you so you can experience that in your physical reality. But the problem is that you go from these imagining times, whether it's through visualization, whether you're in the car. When I'm in the car, I have all kinds of like epiphanies and I think about what I want to receive, and it's just a great time. This can happen during walking. It can happen anywhere, but during meditation and visualization is another place. When you're doing vision boards, when you're doing your manifesting rituals, this is what you are creating, these little teeny particles. It's part of the quantum field. But when you come out of that meditation, or you get out of the car, or you stop doing whatever was giving you all that juice of thinking about what you're going to create in this world, you flip into your default way of being. Your to-do list, your boss, your coworkers, the projects at work, your partner, your kids, maybe you're in school and you start thinking about all the to-do lists you have to do, or maybe you're looking at your bank account and you're like, you don't like it, or your retirement, whatever it is. And what happens is that default signature, this electrical charge that you initially gave to that thing that you wanted, is no longer in alignment with the frequency that you are, because you now are that default frequency of how you live your day-to-day life. And it makes manifesting really hard because obviously you want all those things, right? This is why you're looking for reasons why you can't manifest, or reason why it's not working for you, or why you manifest it and it seems to disappear faster than you received it. It's because of this frequency. You manifest every day. Manifesting is not something that happens once in a while in a blue moon. People talk about, I only manifest once a week or once a month or whatever. That's complete crap. You are creating your reality in every second, which is manifesting. The problem is you are not getting what you want, so you don't think that manifesting is working for you. The problem is you are not in the right frequency to receive what you actually want, because the frequency you created it in is not in alignment. And I know this can be hard when you start to think about money or scarcity or lack. I understand that it can be really hard to flip these switches, if you will, for you to be the match, but it's important for you to do. And if you can't hold that signature, and which I'll talk more about in a moment, start smaller. Maybe you want to manifest, I don't know, let's say $1,000, and maybe that's just too much to hold. Like, you can't hold that frequency. Start with a smaller number that feels more comfortable for you, that feels like it could happen. That may seem trivial to some and thinking, well, I don't need the $100, I need $1,000, but you have to retrain yourself to be able to stay in that frequency. And from my work with clients, I will tell you, staying in those higher frequencies and from a default frequency standpoint is sometimes hard. You've probably been in this default frequency all of your life, if not half of your life, or decades. And it's like a muscle. It gets stuck there. And even though you're trying to change it by having these visualizations and doing affirmations and vision boards and all the things, that is not enough to change the default frequency if your 90% of your day is focused on the opposite emotion and frequency than you want and what you want to receive. Frequency can be many things, but from a quantum perspective, it's emotion. Emotion is the frequency. Now, that everything has a frequency, but the emotion is the attracting spark, if you will, that attracts these things to you. So if your default frequency is, say, powerless, and you are trying to manifest money, let's say that $1,000, you are going to attract it in a way that makes you feel powerless, which of course will make you not think that you're manifesting it, because it isn't coming the way you expected, right? You're going to receive this $1,000 and you're going to be so happy you're going to be able to pay off that bill, or you're going to be able to go on vacation, whatever it is, or take a day off. But with your default frequency, you're attracting that into you in that frequency that you're holding 90% of your day. And there is a way to change this. And a lot of it has to do with beliefs and that, but there is a way for you to consciously start to change this. I will explain that in a moment. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Kind of in the zone, and then things happen. Now, this default frequency you may have inherited from your mother. You spend 9, 10-ish months in your womb with your mother, and her frequency, her default frequency, could have became your dominant frequency. And you might be thinking, oh, at this moment, okay? And this emotional frequency, and you can go online and search for the frequency scale, okay? Powerless is at the bottom, at least in the scale that I use. Powerless is at the bottom, and enlightenment is at the top, with many other variations in between. And you can use a pendulum, you can muscle test, you can use divining rods, which are a big thing right now, and just ask, what is your default frequency? And when you do that, you'll start to understand why you're not receiving what you want. It's because you are not attracting to you the experiences that you want to with what you want to receive. So as again, we'll go back to, let's say, finding a partner, okay? You want to find a partner, and you spend, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe an hour visualizing him or her, or just some partner, right? In your imagination, what they look like, how tall they are, what color their eyes are, whether they have a sense of humor, what they do for a living, all the things. And you're excited, and they feel real, and you just know that they're right around the corner. But you come out of that visualization And you've created the stardust for that. And it goes out into the quantum field and is looking for that match. And you created it from the place of joy, happiness, empowerment. But then you leave that visualization and you get yourself into thinking about all the things that make you sad because you don't have a partner, or grief around it. Or maybe there's resentment and anger around it as well. And then your default frequency starts to change to its normal pattern. That anger or the resentment or jealousy or regret is where you are. It's like, they always show me, this kind of goes back, a record, right? You have a default frequency that you play that's the deepest groove on that record. And when you visualize, you take the needle off the record and try to create a new scratch on that record. But that visualization is not normally strong enough to be as deep as that default one. So it takes practice and conscious awareness for you to start to break the pattern where you constantly get stuck in that same default frequency. Using that pendulum or muscle testing, however you do it, you find out what your default frequency is. Do not be surprised if it's powerless, fear, anger, resentment. Many people are, and we don't know that we are, and we wonder what the hell is wrong with us when we're watching everyone else around us manifest what they want, and you're like, where's mine, right? And it's just because your frequency, your default frequency, is not where you need it to be in order to manifest that partner in a place that makes you feel joyful, happy, or empowered, because your default frequency isn't there, which means you can't get it. It doesn't work. It's like two magnets, okay? Like I tried to do magnets, and these are so strong that I can't even get them apart. But it's two magnets. So the outside world and the universe, right, is saying, well, we have this partner for you, and they're a great fit for you, but you're in powerlessness. So, and this is what the universe thinks you want to experience, this default frequency. So it says, well, we have this great partner who'd be great for her, but she wants to experience powerlessness with this partner that I think would be a great fit for her. And then you receive that. And then you go, well, what happened? And a lot of times I see people in my client base where they get divorced and they blame it all on the other partner. It was their fault. And then they just get into another relationship that is exactly the same or just slightly different, but has very similar problems. And it's because, well, there's a number of things, but the biggest thing is the default frequency is at powerless or fear or anger. And then you'll just attract another partner that's in that energy instead of it being joyful, happiness, empowerment, and all the things. So how do you change it, right? Like, okay, you know all this, right? We got this. And if you don't, please drop a comment below and I'll help you understand what it is I'm talking about. Just ask a question and I will see how to explain it differently. So I've already explained, you can Google, the emotional scale, and then you can ask what your default frequency is. And once you know it, you can start to consciously be aware of where you are getting stuck in that groove on that record. Like, what are the thoughts? What are the behaviors that are doing it? Are you somebody who gossips at work? I used to do this when I worked in corporate America. Everyone in the morning would come in and bitch about how awful their night was and all the things that went wrong and what sucks about this and what sucks about that. And when you do that, you're lowering your own default frequency to meet that if you choose to participate. And that was one of the biggest things I did before. And people didn't know what the hell was wrong with me because all of a sudden I was like, I would just leave. I would go in for, put my lunch in the refrigerator or maybe get a cup of tea and I would leave. And people would be like, why don't you talk to us anymore? I'm like, because I do not want to be part of that energy. And I had no idea about default frequency then. I had read a book by Wayne Dyer. I don't remember exactly what the name of the title was. But in it, he talks about this, about how what you surround yourself with affects that default frequency and what you attract into your life. So if you're around, in my case, people at work who gossiped and who made fun of people and complained, well, then I'm just attracting that into my own life, and I didn't want that anymore. So I stopped, and my life did start to change. I started to have more positive feelings about myself and the world. So it doesn't have to be like a huge shift. You can make these small changes, right? Some of them may be bigger than others. You know, if you have maybe family members who are doing this, that could be a bigger thing. But if you want to start manifesting that life that your heart and soul truly desires, you have to, because they're just going to drop you into that default frequency that you have known your whole life. So you start making those small changes. And this is behavior based, right? Choosing not to be around them, choosing not to watch the news, not to be stuck on social media. Those are all things that lower your frequency unless you're watching videos about kittens and puppies and babies. For the most part, it's very low frequency. The other thing to do is to pay attention to the stories you are telling yourself. You're looking to manifest money, you visualize, receiving $1,000, and then you come out of visualization, you go to the store, and you complain about how expensive things are. You complain about your credit card bills, your interest rates. You complain about how your paychecks are already gone. You complain about how little you have in your bank account, or the fact that the money goes faster than it comes in. And all of that does is plummet your default frequency all the way to the bottomless, because those are all powerless thoughts. Not having enough is fear. Being mad at governments, banks, corporations for the fact that you don't have money is the default frequency of anger. So you can catch yourself when you do this and say, oh, I don't want to be in that reality. And in those moments when you make these different changes, whether it's actions or you choose not to participate in something, or you choose to change your thoughts, you are shifting realities. Now, people will talk about all these things that you have to do to shift your reality, and it's really just about where you focus. You shift reality like this. Every second, you're shifting reality, shifting reality, shifting reality, shifting realities. It's just that your default frequency will just keep you in the same reality forever. When you make these, when you do these visualizations, you're shifting to a new reality. If you're somebody who can envision it, it already exists. And you're seeing that new reality. But when you open your eyes and you go back to all the thought processes that you had before, or all the same behaviors, you just dip back into the old one. It's not that it didn't change, it's just that you changed it back. So in this process, you start to become conscious of where you're doing that. Now, the more you choose to do this activity, paying attention where you are adding to the energy of whatever your default frequency is, and choosing to make a different choice, whether to not participate in something or do something different or to think differently, you are shifting to a new reality where that energy matches, which is going to be closer to what you want versus what you don't want. When you start to work with default frequency, and I caveat this because a lot of my clients and people I work with this want to go from powerless to fear to empowerment, joy, and abundance like overnight, okay? I'm not saying you can't get there in the moment, but some of us, that record groove is so deep that it's going to take time and practice to create another groove that's deeper to keep you there. And every time you choose to do these things differently, you are making that new groove deeper and that old groove less deep. So it's going to take time. You may notice yourself go from powerless to empowerment and feel amazing. And then the next day you wake up and you feel like you're in fear or even back in powerless, and you're like, what the hell happened? I did all this work yesterday and back. And it's just because your default frequency is so embedded that you didn't make the full shift. I know it felt like it. I used to do this all the time until I realized that you have a default frequency you wake up in. And then once I realized that and I started to work on how to change that, and now I don't wake up that thinking about all the things that would keep my default frequency low. It's normal for the default frequency to bop around. You can have good days, you can have bad days. But the goal is for you to get yourself to at least above neutrality so that things can start to balance themselves out. And from there, you'll really start to be able to see the power that you have once you understand your default frequency and start to use it to your advantage and start to attract those particles outside of you in a way that matches the frequency that you want to feel instead of what you don't want to feel. So that's a little bit about default frequency. I go into this much deeper in some of my offerings because it is so important to understand why things sometimes just don't work and understanding the mechanics behind it. While you can make these choices, different choices, actions, thoughts, so forth, know that there may be underlying beliefs, energetic trauma. Like I said, you could have inherited your mother's default frequency while in womb. And those are all things that may need to be addressed in order for you to get your default frequency really where you want to be. But even with that, you can choose right now that it's easy for you to do this and that your beliefs and trauma are not you and that you get to change them so that you can have a different experience. Is it beneficial to do that work? Probably. It will probably make you keeping your default frequency really high more easier over time, but it's not necessary in the beginning. Knowledge is power. Now you know that this exists and this is part of what's happening with manifesting and why it's not working for you. It's working, but it's not working right for you, I should say, and what you can do about it. And yes, this is going to take a conscious shift for you, and know that you're not always going to get it right every day, and you're going to miss things. This is not about you becoming stressed out about this, because that's not going to help either. And that's actually powerless manifesting or even fear. So you'll have that, and it's okay to make mistakes. The better that you get at this, it's like learning how to ride the bike. Eventually it will become subconscious and you won't even know that you're doing. You'll consciously choose the right thing. But in the meantime, you have to kind of be the warrior for yourself so that you can shift this and start to manifest the reality that your higher self and source actually want you to have. They're just waiting for you to move the right switches in your life so that happens. I've experienced it. My clients have experienced it. And if they can, and I have, you can. Thank you for listening. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.